What is going, guys? My name is C's, and welcome back to the What's on Your Mind podcast with the man, Cinema. Cinema, thank you so much for popping in, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a long time, man. Over a year since we had this conversation. So this is currently episode 45, and me and you originally talked back before I revamped my podcast on episode 20 back in 2023 of September. So it's been over a year
Dude, that's so
since me and you have
crazy.
talked.
That's so
Shoot.
crazy.
I know it is wild, but as always, you are actually the first returning guest, so I definitely appreciate you. I'm looking to
Of
get a
course.
bunch more guests on and stuff, but I have decided to kind of revamp this podcast into a little bit different of a environment, just so maybe it's a bit more appealing to a lot more people and just kind of a better conversation overall. So
Mhm.
anybody that's watching, of course, I appreciate you guys so much. So Cinema, before we get started, man, for anybody that does not know you, can you just kind of give a little background about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Of course. My name's Cinema. I'm a sniper, content creator, and a streamer for Northern Forces. I've been doing this for a little over a year now, and honestly, that's pretty much it. There's really nothing too special about me. I mean, I'm just like everyone else.
Yeah, definitely. So when we talked a year ago, you was pretty much just dipping your toes in the water, getting used to everything, wasn't you?
Yeah, I had joined my first team at the time. I joined One Shot Sniping. Shout out to them.
Hmm.
They're awesome. I love everyone over there. But yeah, I joined them, kind of just started getting into streaming. I made maybe a few videos just to kind of test the waters, but yeah, we still going strong with all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been going crazy on Black Ops 6. How you feeling about it?
I love Black Ops 6. Like, it's a good game. However, it's in its early stages, right? So, all the guns are overpowered, the snipers suck, all these stupid glitches, things like that. So it's like it's a little irritating right now, but overall, I just know it'll get better.
Yeah, definitely. I think like it's so weird because like the leveling up your character seems like it takes a long time, but when I grinded for my gold camos to get diamond on my snipers, it took me from Friday to like Sunday evening. It really didn't take me that long to get diamond on my snipers.
I feel like the leveling system, how you don't have to get your gun max level in order to get those camos, is so smart
Yeah.
because 44 for a sniper is kind of crazy for a max level. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
So, I unlocked gold for my snipers, like, on, like, level 9 or something, like, it
Yeah.
was so easy,
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah, it's really cool. I've been enjoying the game a lot. I think as always, it has a lot of little tweaks and stuff. Don't want to talk too much about COD, but one thing I do want to mention on the topic of BO6 is that theater mode is back.
oh my god.
And I think amongst everything else, what theater mode helps, I look forward to it because pro players actually kind of get to have like that football game film type thing where they can rewatch things back.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's going to be a lot more competitive this year. Do you feel like that way?
I agree, honestly, I didn't even think about it in that way. For those who don't know, I got the name Cinema from theater mode. Black Ops 2 had theater mode, and I would love the concept cinematics, and I shortened my name to Cinema. So theater mode's got a little, kind of deeper meaning for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, for a comp scene, I didn't even think about it like rewatching, instead of rewatching your VODs, you're literally rewatching the gameplay and you could see like the enemy's POV, things like that, what route they're taking. So I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
really competitive.
It's gonna be really crazy. I'm really
Yeah,
excited to see everything and man, just thinking about how like you're watching a player and they're like, oh, they're so sick, and then you learn their routes and then you predict them, and now that player that was really insane now has to learn a new route because you've already watched back their stuff. Like it's just
right.
it's insane. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying the game. I think it's really cool. You've been playing a lot of zombies too. You recently just posted a tweet that broke your Twitter. Is that right?
Yeah, it just hit like 1.1 million or something like that. It's crazy. I just found it's a little exploit. You could say it's cheating. I don't know, whatever. It's just a camo. But yeah, you just like long story short, you break these boats, and then you can like super punch them and get them stuck into a hallway, and then the zombies just can't like pass you, so you can just
Yeah.
sit there and farm them.
How did you find that in the first place? Did someone show you, or you just
Yeah,
bored messing around?
one of my close homies showed me, and I was like, you know what? I might make a little video
That's
on it.
crazy, bro. The gatekeeping is crazy, bro. He's not gonna
Yeah,
share that with anybody.
yeah. I was
That's
like, you know
wild,
what?
bro.
I'm gonna show everyone.
Exactly. Like you get the camo, like why are you holding it in for, man? Like let it
Exactly.
out. Show. That's
Plus, like,
crazy.
who knows? They might patch it next week. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, no, definitely. There was another, I don't know if you've seen, but there was another glitch on zombies where it's like, I think it was like round 16, and you have the big guy chasing you. And when you hit the zip line, when he extends his arm out to grab you and you hit the zip line at the same time, it gives you like God mode. And like you could,
Really?
yeah, you couldn't be shot at all. I'm pretty sure they probably patched it. I think I seen it like yesterday, but it was
I heard
crazy.
there was an update this morning, so they probably did patch it.
Probably did. But yeah, again, it's really nice being able to catch back up with you and everything. I'm really excited to kind of change the direction of our conversation now that me and you've kind of grown a lot closer over the year that it's been.
Right.
And overall, I'm just excited to have you back again, man. Episode 20 now, going all the way from episode 20 all the way back to episode 45. Just being a returning guest, I mean, honestly, there's not really many other people that I would rather have on as the returning guest as like the first time, because I remember my conversation that me and you had, and I don't know if you want to go into this a little bit or not, but our conversation got really deep about your eye. And
Mm.
we started talking about that a lot, and that was really meaningful to me, and I know to you as well. For the people that don't really kind of know that story, are you okay to kind of share that with them and tell them what
Yeah,
that's about?
totally. So for those who don't know, I was born with a rare eye disease called PHPV, and essentially what that is the retina, which are kind of like the cords behind your eye. They got detached through birth, and about a few months later, my eye basically died. And around 7, 9 months old, they had to completely take my eye out. Ever since then, I've had a glass eye, and yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm afraid to talk about it, but it's more so that I don't bring it up because I don't view myself any different than anyone else. You could say it's a disability. I don't see it as that. Like I said, I feel like I'm just like everyone else. But it does affect me in some ways. I do have like obviously less vision than most. I have 20 vision instead of 20/20.
Yeah, yeah,
I always joke about, like, I live in a 60 FOV while everyone else is in 120.
yeah,
Um, but just I don't know, with gaming, it doesn't necessarily affect me too much because you're looking at one screen, you don't have to look, left and right, you don't need, like, a peripheral or anything like that.
right.
I feel like the only thing that kind of sucks is, when I'm streaming, I have several monitors, right? So, like, I have to fully move my head this way in order to read chat. It can get a little irritating, but, it's a part of life now, you know?
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. And it's important that you kind of hold yourself to that standard and making sure that you don't want anyone to kind of have the feeling of like, don't treat me any differently just because you heard this information that clearly stinks. But I do think that it's important, to kind of note and very credible to you, as obviously it's a disadvantage to you, but I kind of view it as you view it as not really wanting to tell a lot of people because like you're no different, but I view it as you being able to share that story. Maybe not people with the same issue, maybe they do have the same issue, but people with other disabilities or issues that they have going on with themselves or what they've been born with or just how things have had, hearing your story can probably help them figuring out, their anxiety when it comes to those type of conversations.
Right, yeah, I have a close friend in the community who, she's kind of I don't know the whole situation, so I don't wanna say too much about
Hmm.
it, but she can't use one of her arms correctly or fully, so she plays with, like, her left hand and her knee or, like, her leg of some sort, and she still
Mm,
plays Call of Duty, and we've played a lot, and she mentioned she's like, "You really helped me kind of just want to play Call of Duty." She's like, "I don't see myself any different. I want to play COD because you show me that I can." So, her and I are really close, and that really showed me it's like I can make an impact even though I don't view it as that.
yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I fully understand. And I think it's kind of, with my name feeds, it's basically just based off the kill feed, nothing really super special. I just like
Right.
sniping. But, when you have your name, eventually you start learning other people that had the same name because everybody's trying to be like, this is my name. Like, it's mine. Like, you can't have
Right.
it.
Right.
And not for feeds, but sometimes people don't like to read my gamer tag and they would call me Feats sometime, and made me think of a guy named Red Feats that used to be in Red Reserve a long time ago, and he was born with no arms, and he played Call
Oh,
of Duty and
yeah.
trickshotted with his feet,
I
and
remember that.
his story really meant a lot to me because even though we didn't technically have the same name, a lot of people would make that joke to me, especially back
Mhm.
in like COD Ghost days and stuff, be like, "Oh, look, it's fake feats or whatever," and I was like, at the time, I was like, "What does that even mean?" But
Right.
seeing that backstory meant a lot to me because here I think of my issues and my stuff that I've I've got going on. And it's like you don't really need to like compare yourself to other people, but sometimes you have to humble yourself and you have to learn that like, hey, even though whatever I'm going through right now sucks, it could be worse. And I tell myself that a
Mhm.
lot, that it could always be worse. And that's pretty much how I get through my days.
100%. I mean, I could have lost all my vision, you know what I mean? It always kind of lingers in the back of my head. It's like what if I end up losing my eye? You know what I mean? Can't play Call of Duty. Can't make really like it's going to be hard. You know, there are people out there who are fully blind and they make it work and I'm sure I could, but you know, the possibility is just very scary. So I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to be able to do what I do.
Yeah, definitely. Is trying to figure out there's not really a better way to say this. Is there a possibility that that could happen? Have the doctors ever told you anything?
So like my eye that is fully working, perfectly healthy, there's no it's not like a, lingering disease
Right.
or like a cancer of some
Right.
sort. It's just it's technically like a birth defect. It does it can happen, like, later in life, but not due to having it previously. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
get it.
yeah, so from what I've learned throughout the years is my vision alone is very healthy.
It's good.
If you don't know, like if you lose one sense, you actually like gain more sense in everything else. So my
So
vision
you're
is
an anime
actually
character is what you're
pretty
saying.
much like my vision is like really good.
Yeah.
I haven't had a need of glasses or anything like that. I am looking to get some blue light glasses because I do need to take care of this eye because
Yeah.
it is all I have. So
That's what I was actually just about to ask. Have you ever looked into getting glasses, or have they ever told you that you should have glasses, even if your vision's okay, just to like kind of an extra, kind of like a bulletproof vest type thing?
yeah, so, through middle school, I had a surgery where they needed to fix some scar tissue, and I actually couldn't have my glass eye in at that time for those full 2 years. So what I did is I actually wore glasses, and they weren't prescription, they were just glass, and it was essentially like goggles, but I didn't wanna wear goggles, so I wanted, like, actual glasses.
Yeah.
Um, so I wore those for a while. I played basketball in high school too, and I wore those as well with like a strap back just because, you know, finger in the eye, something, you know, something random can always happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, like for gaming, like I said, I want to look into like a blue light glasses just because I don't want to mess with my vision. I mean, I look at a screen every single day. You know, I know how it can affect your vision, so I definitely want to protect it as much as I can.
Definitely. Yeah, I understand. Well, like, well, what about, the outside hobbies that you have? I know that you do some type of skating and stuff. Like, do you need to bring something with you to protection, or are you just kind of like, eh,
Ironically, I kinda just, like, go for it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. When I'm skating, it's like I can wear glasses, but, like, they just fall off. Every time I fall, they fall, then they break, and then I have to buy new ones, and it's like, "You know
Yeah.
what? I might as well just I'll risk it."
Ha-
But I do
Go ahead.
find myself kinda holding back on a lot of, like, tricks or, you know, some kind of obstacle just because I'm like, "Whoa, I don't wanna risk that right now. I don't feel comfortable."
Yeah. Have you ever thought about the glasses being a bad thing for you? Like maybe you do accidentally fall and then the glasses is the reason that something happens to your eye?
Yes and no. I feel like the possibility of that is very, very small. So it
It's fair.
lingers, but I'm not too worried about it.
That's fair. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you have a foreseeable future, with the eye.
Right.
I'm not trying to like laugh about it, but there's not like a better way to like talk
Yeah.
about it. It's
Right.
just kind of hysterical, but it's awesome. Definitely super glad that you have that for you and gives you something to hold on to kind of look forward to. Because I could only imagine if that script was flipped and your doctors was telling you something else. I could only imagine, the less your motivation would get, and you go to an appointment and you hear some bad news and now you're thinking about a couple of years from now this is what's going to happen to me, and I'm glad and I hope and pray that you don't have that conversation for a long time, if at all ever.
Thank you. It means a lot.
So definitely. So yeah, so thank you for kind of sharing that little background. I just kind of thought it was important for people to know you because this podcast is technically about you in a way.
Right.
So the podcast, obviously I've changed it to what's on your mind. So it's kind of just anything that you want to talk about, whether it's something super personal, whether it's just something in general that you're just annoyed about, just anything at all that you want to talk about. So that's pretty much the only question I have for you today is what's on your mind.
Um, for those who don't know, I'm a baker. at a French bakery. My hours kind of fucking suck. I get up super early and I work till about like 1, 2 o'clock, depending on how busy it is, what needs to be done, things like that. Um, and it's not a horrible job. I've been there for I think a little over 2 years now, and I love everyone there, but I am surrounded by a lot of females, and nothing against that. Don't
Mhm.
don't take that in a
I
bad
got
way.
I got you.
However, it's just like I feel like I definitely get singled out a lot when it comes to a few situations. I won't name any names for obvious reasons, but
Mhm.
there is just one, you know, particular person where I just get a lot of shit for being like a straight male and like just being a straight guy in general.
Mhm.
And like with where we are right now with, the LGBTQ community and everything like that, like I have nothing against it. I support all of that. It's just when it backtracks to me and I get kind of hated on or like spoke about because I'm a straight guy, I feel like it's a little weird. Like I'm just trying to live life. Like, I can't really change that. Like I don't know how else to explain it. I'm kind of just
Right.
doing me, but I get shit for being that. And I've spoke to him about it. I've asked them, they've been kind of just like sexist towards me, and it's so weird because I would never really expect that. Especially because I'm very nice to literally everyone. Um,
Yeah.
but it just bothers me because I feel like I can't be in the workspace and be myself. Um, Recently, like within these past few months, I've kind of just go in, clock in, do my job, and leave. I don't really talk to my coworkers as much as I can because I don't feel comfortable. And that sucks because it feels very like degrading. I don't feel like
Yeah.
I can be who I want to be, especially in the workspace, and that just sucks. And then I get home and I just kind of think about it over and over again. So that just really sucks, especially at work where I kind of need to be in order to live. I've been looking at like other jobs and things like that, but I just have a really good deal with where I am right now, so I'm sticking through it. Again, I have spoke to them and they kind of apologize, but they're still doing it. They say it's a joke, but
Mhm.
it's not a joke to me if it hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
Um, but that is kind of one of my main issues that I'm having right now. I just don't really feel comfortable at work being who I am. So when I come home and I play COD and I be,
Mhm.
cinema, I feel like
Yeah.
I can be who I want to be online. And that's really refreshing. But when it comes to like content creation and things like that, again, that kind of switches over and I feel like I have to be someone else. With the content standards and everything, it's just really awkward. Because you see these videos blow up and they're all kind of like the same video. It's just formatted differently.
Right.
And I feel like I have to start following that trend. But if I follow this trend, then that's not really who I am. You know what I mean? It's me trying to be who that person is.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to focus on maintaining original content in a sense of I edit it how I want it edited. I get clips how I want to get clips. If I make a montage and it has like 6 quad feeds, oh well. If I enjoy it, that's what matters. I don't want to hold myself to everyone else's standards. I just want to hold myself to my standards. And I think that's
Yeah.
the most important thing right now because I don't feel comfortable anywhere else.
Yeah. Dang. Well, I
Yeah, sorry to
definitely
drop the
no,
ball on you there.
you're good. You're good. You're good, man. I love conversations like this. I appreciate you kind of giving me insight on that life. Definitely want to pick some things apart here and try to see what we can do. First off, obviously, you should never have to go through stuff like that. That is obviously awful. Of course, just like myself, I support it. I don't really want to deal with all that kind of stuff. It's just not me. It's not my lifestyle. But I have no problems with anybody that loves that type of lifestyle.
Mm,
But the red flag to me is that lifestyle, the whole point of it is to not judge people, and the whole point of it is to be who you are.
right.
So
Which is
you
why I
dealing with that contradicts what that's all about, and that's really, really crappy. And I can definitely understand the obstacles in front of it. As far as your workplace goes, you said that you've tried to talk to them about it and they've kind of said, whatever. They've helped a little bit, but not really at all. So it literally only comes down to two things: either A, you're not having the conversations you need to have, or B, that place is just not for you. Like I said at the very beginning of this podcast, I don't like pushing religion on anyone, but the way that I view things is for myself, not even applied to you, just my original how my life is and my jobs and stuff, because I'm actually going through a job change myself right now. And I view that as, if I'm not comfortable somewheres, I believe that God is showing me signs that maybe this isn't for me, regardless whether I'm comfortable with the people there or comfortable with the pay that I'm getting or comfortable with the flexibility. Not all the time is that necessarily something that you should prioritize if it's affecting you as a person. So I think that's definitely the biggest question that it would come down to is this job enough for you to bite your tongue and go through it and try to work it out? Or do you genuinely believe that the longer you stay there, it's going to hurt you even more, and you deciding to leave at a later time is going to affect who cinema becomes at a later time? Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, and that's always been on my mind within these past, like, I'd say 2 weeks. I applied for another cafe, slash, like, bakery just to kinda
Hmm.
see, like, if I got it, then that's my sign to go. But it instantly got declined, and I was just like, "Well, I'm kinda back to square one." I talked about promotion, and I am getting one, well, supposedly within the next few months. So I'm looking forward to that. However, you know, that person will still be in that workspace.
Bro.
So I feel like it's more so just like I need to not deal with it. Like, obviously, I'm gonna stand up for
Right.
myself,
It
if
shouldn't be
they
your problem, but it has to be your problem.
right. So I feel like rather than just like having to deal with it, maybe just learn to have the right conversation to where they understand how I feel about it. That way they can better themselves. Because I love this fucking job. Like, it is such a good job. I love helping customers. Like, everyone loves me there. It's such a
Yeah.
great and fun place, and everyone that I work with is amazing. We all are super close. Like, I think tomorrow, me and like 3 other coworkers are gonna go watch Terrifier 3 because we're all gonna get stoned as
Mhm.
fuck and just watch
Mhm.
Terrifier 3. Like,
That's dope.
it's like we're all just friends working at the same
Yeah.
spot, but sometimes that can conflict and, sometimes I don't take them seriously, they don't take me seriously because we're all friends, right? So I feel like for her, it's more of a joke, and I don't think that they fully understand that. And like you said, the whole purpose of like that community is to make sure that everyone feels welcome and that they can be themselves. And it's like kind of ironic that I'm getting the opposite end of
Bro.
that, especially coming from someone in the community. So I don't know. I'm trying to learn how to have that right conversation because again, I don't want to offend them in any way. I feel like nowadays, really anything you can say can get turned on you, and it's really hard because you don't mean it in that way, right? Like again, I don't have anything against that community. It's just when someone from there turns against me, it kind of like makes me view that a little harsher
Mhm.
in a sense.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just trying to learn how to talk with them and make sure that they understand, like, you're hurting my feelings, bro. Like, I can't be who I want to be, and I'm just trying to do my job. Like,
Right.
I'm not here to have conversation. I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to work.
Right.
And the fact that I have to deal with your bullshit on top of everything else that I have to do is just really stressful. And the pay, I wouldn't say it's worth sticking around, but it's also not bad. It's
Right.
definitely something that I need. And the only thing that is holding me back from getting another job is I've gotten 2 raises since I've started working there, and I'm not gonna say what I make, but
Mhm. Of
it's
course.
a good amount, way above minimum wage. So
Mhm.
if I were to get a different job, I would go back to minimum wage. I'd have to work more hours and, kind of build that up again. So I feel like it is worth sticking out, but if it continues, it won't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way that I view this conversation right now with everything that you're telling me, It seems good, and it's the conversation that's the problem. So obviously, before I asked my question of which is more important, so on, so on. So now learning that you've been at this job for over 2 years, you've gotten two different promotions. You say that you like it there. You say that you enjoy helping the customers and being with the company, and you like the people that you work around. All of these are, of course, big green flags because it's pretty rare for someone to talk about working for a company for multiple years and their complaints is within the people, not necessarily the
Right,
staff, not the management, not the pay. It's just the coworkers and stuff you have to deal with, and coworkers should never be a reason that should be your final nail in the coffin of I'm leaving. Like, you should
right,
be able to have steps to figure that out. And obviously, if you try to talk to that person or if you try to talk to management, and if it goes the complete opposite way that you don't want it to go, then that's a problem with management. And then that's where I would see the red flags of, okay, maybe you do need to start think about leaving this job, because yeah, you've
right.
gotten two raises, but if they can't prioritize you, they just prioritize you by giving you a raise. So why would
Exactly.
they double down and then say F your feelings, and then all of a sudden you don't matter anymore?
Right.
um so I think it's good that you feel that way about your job and that you like things, and that tells me that you don't necessarily need to leave because you're happy with where you're at, and that's the biggest thing, is being happy with what you do. But the
Mhm.
environment of you, and I think that's a big thing. A lot of people get confused because they're listening to you talk right now and they're like, Feeds, he just said he's not happy, and it's like, well, he is. He's just not
Yeah,
happy in the way that he wants to be, but he is
exactly.
overall happy. But it's just the small tweaks, just like Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Nobody's happy with it
exactly.
right now. If they made tweaks, they'd be chilling. They'd be fine,
Ex exactly,
Um,
that's a great comparison. It's like, I love it so much, they just gotta update it, bro.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I definitely get you. So that's cool, and I'm glad. I'm glad that you have obstacles that are still annoying, but it seems like maybe you can pass over. So I would say two things. Obviously, I would leave management out of it right now
Right.
because you're taking this really personal, which is not saying at all that you shouldn't. Like, you should, obviously, that's the
Mhm.
problem. But having the conversation with that person, however you decide to have it, is going to be more important, because if you try to involve other people before that conversation happens, or go to your manager and say, hey, so and so, blah 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 blah, I want to have a conversation, and then manager walks over there and talks to her, then already she's conflicted and wanting to
Yeah,
lash out and
exactly.
say things, and that's just kind of how everybody is when they get information a different way. Not a certain type of person, not a man, not a woman, just in general, everybody deals that. If you get information that you're not used to hearing, and that's like another thing. I actually seen this on Twitter today, is that there's a lot of people, especially when it comes to drama. There's a lot of drama that gets created because and I'm not applying this to your situation. I'm
You're
not
good.
saying that you're not an adult. I'm saying drama that happens, at least 60% of the drama I see on my timeline is because they're not actual adults and they don't talk it out. They tweet about it, they talk it
Exactly,
out, they talk to friends of friends or whatever, and that's how things fall down. That's how things cause issues. So I
exactly.
think if you can find a way to bring it up, and this was another thing that I was going to mention on, is the vulnerability. I know it sucks as a man to have that conversation, to say that your feelings are hurt, and to say that that affects me, and that makes me sad and stuff. And a lot of people's like, oh, like, you're a man. Like, it's like, that's how it is. It's how we
That's
get treated.
so when I brought it up the first time, she literally said, "Oh, you're fine, you're a man, you'll get over it." And I was
Yeah,
like, "I'm not a man, I'm a human being."
right.
You know what I mean? Like, as corny as that sounds, bro, like, I have feelings too, regardless if I'm a man or not. Yeah, typically, it's known for us just to thug it out and get it over it, but it's like, what if I don't want to, bro? Like, it's important to feel those feelings. So
Yeah,
I feel like it's just crazy how she totally just, like, made my feelings just, like, invalid. Like, it just,
yeah,
like, felt like it didn't matter. Like, "Oh, you're upset? Oh, well, get over it. You're a guy." I was like, "What the
right,
fuck, bro? Like, come on. You don't even, like, seem to care." So
right.
that's what blew my mind is, like, she literally was like, "You're a man. You can get over it." I was like, "What does that even mean?" You know what I mean? Like, what does being a man have anything to do with my
Yeah.
feelings.
And I totally understand it. And this is where the conversation's so difficult because instantly everybody's response is going to be, well, would you be okay with it if that was you? And yes, that's the right response in an argument, but that's not the right response to fix what you're wanting to fix. And that's the thing that
Exactly.
sucks so much about life is because people are hearing your conversation and there's probably people watching this right now thinking, oh, well, Cinema should just find another job. He should do this, do that. He should just avoid or whatever. And like, that's not the way that I believe that. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I don't think that you
Agreed.
should just go around that person and pretend that they never existed because it's something that you're still facing every day and it's something that you're going to have to deal with. Otherwise, you're never going to grow.
Right.
And
I'm
so
not
go ahead.
I was
You're
gonna
good.
say, I'm not gonna run away from it.
Hmm.
Even just growing up, I've never ever run away from my problems. I will always face them face on. And with this, it's literally my life. Like outside of gaming, outside of everything, this is my life. I can't just run away and keep running away because eventually, like, I'm gonna run out of places to go, you know? So it's like I'm sticking it down and I'm going to stay until it fixes. And if I see that nothing changes, then I will go.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna just drop everything because my feelings are hurt, you know what I
Right.
mean? I'm going to sit there and I'm gonna work it out and make sure that, like, I've been here for so long, I deserve to be here. So I'm gonna prove to them, "Hey, I deserve to work here. You don't get to treat me like this." Have some mutual respect.
Yeah, definitely. And just like I said before, I think that's the main thing is a lot of people don't want to have those conversations, whether they're scared of the confrontation, whether they think the conversation is going to be pointless. Again, the way that I believe and the way that I view things is I think that anything of that scenario, regardless of whatever else is going on, whether it's the same thing, whether it's something completely different, if the same rule applies, where you still have to face an obstacle that you don't want to deal with, but until you deal with it, that obstacle isn't going to get better. You should
Mhm.
always try to make one or two attempts before figuring out another direction. It's not smart
Exactly,
to just avoid things. And that's how people run into so many issues. And that's how a lot of people end up on unemployment. They have a crash out, whatever. He said, she
exactly,
said, whatever. They get mad at each other and they don't talk it out and they just all make their smart remarks. And then eventually one leaves or gets fired or whatever. And that's not the
exactly.
right way to go about it. So I think, again, the really crappy situation about this is you can't crash out the way that you want to, which stinks, because I know a lot of us would, but that's not
Yeah,
going to handle the actual issue that you're facing. Because if you just crash out, it's going to create more drama. It's eventually going to lead to you leaving, and then those two raises that you're so proud about is now doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at
exactly.
all. So it's you have to prioritize. I don't want to say your pride, but I don't know a better word to use for it
I
because you've
feel like
worked
that's
2 years to
yeah,
get to where you're at, and throwing it away just because you have a disagreement of the way that someone treats you should not be, ending statement or whatever. Like, oh, I'm done with this place or whatever. Just throw everything away that you just worked for. That's
mhm.
that's like that's like me being mad at my mortgage company and say, I'll just take my house, whatever. It's like I worked for
Right,
this house for like 7 years to get here.
exactly, exactly, and
Um,
I'm a
but
very, very big believer on, like, when I show up at work, if I have, like, a personal issue with you, I am not going to bring it up to you until I am clocked out. It
mhm,
is not
yeah,
right to bring it up at a workspace because that is not the environment that I wanna talk to you with, you know? The first conversation, I did just text her because,
mhm,
I wasn't super close with her enough to be like, "Hey, can we have this conversation real quick?" And then, they said what they said. I ended up talking to 'em as I left. I was like, "Hey, like, can we talk soon?" Blah, blah, blah. But again, I am surrounded with a lot of females, and respectfully, they all gossip and talk a lot about,
mhm,
"This person said this person said this. Oh my
right,
god, well, whatever. But it's like I'm kind of just like hearing everything go from ear to ear.
right,
I never say anything. Or at least I try to,
right.
um, just because, like I said, I think it's important to leave that out of the workspace because that creates a toxic workspace, and you do not want that.
Definitely. No, and that's a super solid mindset to have. And that's something that if a lot of, I don't want to say just Americans, but obviously we live in America. So that's kind of what we're,
Right.
used to. But I guess as Americans, if a lot of people would adapt that same trait of whatever you have going on with your manager, with your lifestyle, with your paycheck, whatever, unless if it's something that's like immediately, like if this doesn't happen now, then something's happening to me or my family. If it's something that can wait, you have to kind of forget that whole sense of urgency and let it play out, and just go and
Yeah,
do your 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever, and then handle it afterwards. And I think that's
exactly.
very, very good for you to be able to have that quality about yourself to make sure that whatever business you try to handle is not on the clock. So that way it honestly shows it's something that shows you a lot more about your character that you don't think that people are going to see. And maybe you see it now, I don't know. But I
Mhm.
think being able to do that once, let's say you have this talk. So the way that I would word it is, if it was me, I would say, as soon as you clock in with her or whatever, say like, hey, after work, I really want to talk to you, just me and you alone. I just really want to just kind of hash this out and just kind of figure out what's going on. Like, I'm not mad at
Mhm.
you, I'm not mad at anybody, I don't want to start no drama, I just want to be comfortable being able to come here and work. And try that. If it doesn't work,
Right.
obviously, go on about it. But let's say you do that, and let's say it works out. Let's say you're now
Mhm.
happy cinema and you're jumping for
Right.
joy, and you come home to shit on kids in Call of Duty, and
Right.
you're vibing, and it's like your managers that have gave you those raises a couple weeks, month to whatever, they're
Right.
going to notice that that tension is going to be a lot less between you two. Or unfortunately, if something goes wrong, it'll be more, and they'll
Right.
notice. And then it will be on them of how they react. And if they
That's
don't react in a way that helps you and prioritize the person that they're saying that they believe in and that they trust and that they're proud of, then that is when my red flag would be that I don't want to be here. Because I know you want to talk, but just real quick, what
okay.
I was saying earlier, because I asked you, is this job something that you want to bite your tongue and hash out and see if that gets figured out, or do you just want to leave? And the fact that you want to stay and go through this tells me that that should be the red flag that makes you leave, is that if you try to seek help or fix this and it doesn't fix itself, and everyone that you can turn to, if you don't have nobody, that's like going to therapy and you knock on the door and nobody's there. It's like,
Right.
what
It's
the
like it's
heck,
just pointless.
like I just gave you like $700 for an hour and you're not even here. It's like,
Exactly.
so I definitely understand that. I definitely hope the best for you, and I hope that you can get that solved. I hope anything of that conversation, we're not really done, just kind of in general. I know there's things you want to say too, but just in general, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole aspect of what you're going through. And I hope that that helps some way, and I truly just want you to
Oh,
be
yeah.
happy.
Thank
And
you.
your work life is always going to come first, and especially in the field of content and on YouTube here, what you guys are watching, all of that affects what we're doing right now. So it is definitely important that you try to handle the business the best way that you can in your personal life, so that way you don't have to fake who you are online. You can just be cinema, and you can just be
Mhm.
happy and go about your day.
Agreed. What I was just gonna like add on is I'm in this situation specifically, I view myself as the bigger person because I do have that mindset of leave everything at the door because they don't. They will gladly come up to me in front of a customer and say something. And I'm
Damn.
like, "Excuse me, do not talk to me right now. I'm with a customer. Like, this is not the place to speak. Go somewhere else." Right? That's the correct response.
Hmm.
My managers see that and they see her as, the red flag in that situation.
Right.
It's like the fact that I'm being the bigger person makes her look like the bad person in
Yeah,
their eyes if they don't see it already. You know what I mean?
definitely.
So I think I'm just gonna, as much as I was just talking about how I don't want to thug it out, I kind of have to in this situation
Hmm.
just to prove that it's not just me. It's
Right,
not
but
just a
it's not
personal
it's
issue.
not you necessarily thugging it out. You're just going through until you feel like when the moment's right to handle it. So that's
Yeah, exactly.
I don't view that in a way of, oh, I just have to deal with work, and whatever happens. You're just waiting for a moment that is going to provide you the outcome that you want, so you can continue to live a happy life. And you have to wait a couple days, couple weeks to get to that moment. Then your version of thug it out, I guess, is technically true, but you're just trying to wait for
Right.
the moment that makes everybody happy, which is very
Exactly.
awesome. And again, good on your character.
Exactly.
So,
But, I mean, that's pretty much it about, like, the work life. I
hmm,
just that's been on my mind the past few months, and it's just like, I talked to my dad. My dad's like my best friend. I've been talking to him about it. He's been helping me, explore new jobs, not even like in the sense of bakery or cafe, but
Right, different
I used to work
fields.
I used to work retail, so I'm never going back there. But I just maybe, who knows? But he's helping me explore, helping me just kind of what you've been saying, just
Mhm.
talk me through it and let me know that I'm not necessarily in the wrong and that, you know, as much as it does suck, I'm proud of myself for like being the bigger person.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean that's important, and it also, so whenever you decide to find a new job, if you ever do, because I would probably imagine this place is somewhere you would probably stay forever.
Mhm.
But if it is, great, it's whatever. But if you do find another job, that pretty much every time that you have an interview, they're going to say, "Oh, tell me about a situation with you and a coworker," blah, blah, and you're like,
Right.
"Oh, here we go,"
There we
So
go.
like, it happens. But one more thing that I was going to mention before we move on is that, again, the way that I believe religiously, in God, the way that I articulate things is that people like her, of course, I mean, I see her as a problem too, not saying that I view differently than what everybody else thinks, because obviously
Mhm.
she does not sound like a good hero. She sounds like a pretty bad villain.
I will
um
say this real quick, she is
mhm,
a good person. I genuinely like, as a person, I do like her, I do enjoy spending time with her, I don't dislike her,
that's
I
good.
just don't appreciate the way that she, approaches me and kind of views me. So, I just want everyone to
Mhm.
know, like, I do like this person as a human being, and I do appreciate them and everything that they do. It's just really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that, and that's definitely super important. Because at the end of the day, that's one more thing that I was going to add on, is that I believe that and I actually just said this today about how there's somebody that I'm talking to that has other friends that has been leaving him out a lot and stuff like that, not really hanging out with them, kind of leaving him on red or whatever. And it's a tough thing where you have to bite your tongue, because not everybody is going to be in your life forever. And also,
Right.
on that topic of not everybody being in your life forever, there's also going to be people in your life that aren't supposed to be there as your friend, but is supposed to be there as a learning curve. And I think the way that I view in my head world,
Mhm.
whatever, I
Right.
think that cinema is that learning lesson for that lady, because maybe she's not had that type of confrontation. Maybe she's
Mhm.
not had that. And you're viewing it as maybe she's older, maybe she's younger, maybe she lacks experience, maybe she has more experience than you. None of that really matters at the end of the day. Being able to view that as, okay, instead of me being mad at her and crashing out, maybe she's just not yet had that conversation that a lot of us have in our lives. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just end up being the first, and that's how it is. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that that happens, because at the end of the day, not nobody's going to see everything the same way. Obviously, of course, they're LGBTQ, and we're
Mhm.
just straight men. It's obviously, there's already animosity there of a difference in sides. Not that either one of us judge each other, but it's just there. That's just how the
Right.
history of it is, and just how the
Right.
world is, which is shitty. I wish we could all just love each other, and that never have to be a pinpoint in a conversation of, oh well, she's, it stinks, because
Right.
that has to apply to the character that you're trying to figure out how to help. But that would be the way that I view it. Is, I think that from what I'm hearing, it sounds like she's not really had those type of conversations. And even though I
Mhm.
know it stinks for you to kind of be that learning curve for her, it's important to realize that you could actually be that step that makes her maturity rise. And you've already said that you like her genuinely as a person. You
Mhm.
think she's cool. You just don't like the way that she goes about things, and again, her maturity level of how she deals with things. So I think that's
Mhm.
an important aspect, because all of us has to mature at some point in many different
Right.
ways, in many different ages, and many different genders. So whatever you want to say, everybody has to mature in their own way. But it's
Agreed.
important to understand that sometimes you can't mature alone. And I know that sounds dumb to some people to think, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like the same thing, like I say about the Bible. Like, again, like, the Bible is a big book, a lot of people wrote it. Like, for one person to read all that and understand it, or any religion of any book that you read, or no religion at all, maybe just a book about Moby Dick or something, like, nobody's going to read that whole big book and understand everything. You need
Right.
help along the way, you need guidance, and you need people to understand things and help articulate things. If you want to go and grind camos and zombies, you got to go and find cinema to give you a good XP glitch, so that way you can get there. Like, you have
Right.
to have people in your life that is going to help you get through those obstacles, but those people aren't going to be in your life personally. They're just going to be there as a learning curve.
Agreed. Well said. That's really good. Yeah, I guess I mean, unless you have anything, I kinda wanna add
Mhm.
on to this
You're
with a
good.
different situation,
Totally.
more so about, like, people come into your lives as a learning lesson rather than to stay forever.
Mhm.
Um, I'm sure you know, and again, I won't name any names, but I was in a relationship with someone in the community. I would say, like 5, 6 months ago is when it kind of ended. It was a long distance relationship, but it worked. It was really well. I will say I did like genuinely love this person. And that's a very big word for me personally.
Definitely.
But they ended up flying out here on their own terms, and they stayed with me for a week. It was great. Everything was awesome. And then it kind of just went really downhill. There's a situation where they didn't really communicate something to me, and I wouldn't say I overreacted. I think I reacted in a right way,
Mhm.
but they made me view myself as if I was in the wrong for
Mhm.
reacting the way that I did. And it sucked because I was like, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but maybe I am. So I kind of stepped back and I kind of like dropped my own feelings and I listened to what they were saying. And then eventually the relationship just ended. They were like, I don't think we should do this anymore, blah, blah, blah. I just need time. And I was like, that doesn't really make any sense with what just happened. Um, I ended up finding out a bunch of stuff that I didn't like. And that made me realize it's like, although I loved that person and that relationship was good, it was a learning lesson for me. Now moving forward in life, I don't wanna do long distance relationships anymore.
Mhm.
I don't wanna talk to anyone in the comm anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, little things like that, it's like, I would have never known if that didn't happen, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, although I'm really upset with how it ended, I'm thankful that it happened because I was able to learn, mature, and move on.
Yeah,
So it's like
definitely. And
things like that.
that's yeah, no, I definitely get it. And it's obviously a little bit difficult for me to talk about it because there's a lot of context missing and I don't want to paint a bad picture on anybody. But just overall, I think that's a big learning curve again that everybody needs to realize is a lot of us get caught up in what should I have done differently or why did this happen and why me and why all this is and it's like those things like yes they affect you, yes they hurt, but is that going to help you tomorrow? You having the same thought of should I have done this differently today and then say think the same thing again tomorrow, nothing is going to change. And that's just a really harsh and hard reality that a lot of us has to move past and has to understand that okay, even though I don't like the situation, even though I really thought that me and this girl connected really well or whatever, maybe it
Mhm.
just wasn't the best. And logically I think that if that's you, obviously you're thinking you did the best with all the information that you're given. That's all you can do. We're
Right.
not Houdini. We can't figure out everything. We can't, figure out these crazy random things that are going to pop into your life of someone's background that you didn't know about or whatever. And, I'll, to kind of level with you, I'll get a little bit personal too. And I'll even mention names because he's a piece of trash and it sucks. It really sucks. And I hope the best for him. But Majiment, I don't know if did you know Majiment? Yeah. So,
Yeah, so real quick, I didn't know
hmm
him, like, very personally,
hmm
but, Tay Woods, for those who know him, you know him.
shout out to,
Me and him grew up in the same town.
hmm
We didn't know this till, like, last year.
yeah. You
He
met up
lived
not too long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was around, like, last Christmas. We
hmm
ended up meeting up, doing a little, duo stream. I was his first ever guest on the Tay Woods show, which is super awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely, like, go give it a look. But he at that time when we met up, he was like, "Yo, like, respectfully, because legal reasons, don't mention
hmm
this to anyone," but he showed me what happened. I
hmm
knew before I mean, me and him knew before anyone else, and I couldn't say anything legally because I didn't wanna get in trouble. But, yeah, he gave me the whole rundown of what happened, and I was just like, "Oh my god." Like,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Yeah. So it's awful. So basically, um, how Trying to figure out a good way to word this for YouTube. Basically, To Catch a Predator is basically how it ended up coming out, roughly. And it's awful to talk about. I don't like shedding light on that situation because I did like the man a lot.
Mhm.
And there's two reasons why I'm mentioning him. One, he was actually on my podcast, and I actually deleted it. The only podcast I've ever deleted because I was very uncomfortable after hearing all the things about everything. And two, because I just want to level with you and kind of make you feel a bit more better of your situation. And I think it's important in general because a lot of people don't really know this about me particularly. But me and Majima, we had been decent friends, whatever, like a year ago, whatever, just off and on here and there supporting each other. But then whenever it came to my podcast that we did, that is deleted, that is no longer there.
Right.
Did the podcast, we talked a lot about his grandpa, about drug use and stuff, and a lot of situations that he used to be in, and just all public stuff that he was, telling everybody, whatever.
Right.
And it was just a great conversation. We both ended up crying. I helped him get, closer to God because that's what he wanted, and
Mhm.
we talked a lot about very in depth things and stuff. And it was just very important for us. And I was just super happy after that conversation that we had. And after I did that podcast for the next couple weeks, we would always check up on each other, always hang out. He'd be in my stream, I'd be in his stream, whatever. And excuse me, shortly after that podcast, and you probably even know and seen it around, but I ended up going through one of the biggest breakdowns in my, personal life history that I've ever had. And I was unemployed for like a month and a half, 2 months. I was struggling finding a job so much, and I had like 7 days before my mortgage was due. And if I did not pay that mortgage, I was going to start the foreclosure on my house and lose
Right.
everything that I'd been working for. That me and my fiance, Dumplings is her gaming name, and me and her have worked towards and tried to live a better life and stuff. And it was
Mhm.
awful. It was deteriorating, and I don't really have much family, and the family that I do have, they all come from another poor income family. They can't really help out much aside from like gas money or whatever.
Right.
And I then had to turn to the internet, which is like I feel like kind of one of the worst things that you can do is to have to turn to the internet
I
and
wouldn't
you know,
I wouldn't say it's the worst thing, especially when you have a community to
mhm,
go to, you know what I mean? I think it's just hard, not that you're necessarily, like, begging for money, but in a sense, it's like you're asking people to help you, and it's you feel guilty because you feel like, you know, like, you already like, I don't know, I feel like you just do so much alone for everyone else that you don't wanna ask for anything else.
bro.
And I feel like asking for money is just in general, it's just a really hard conversation to have. I
Yeah,
mean, I had a hard conversation to ask my mom for $20 the other day, and it's just like it just feels bad because I feel like for some reason that's my fault that I
right.
don't have that $20. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
continue on
no,
what
I
you're saying.
I definitely get it, and it's a hard conversation in general, especially to have that with family. And I struggled with that for a long time until I slowly kind of got out of it, when we just started helping each other. But specifically on that, and Majumit wasn't the only one. So when I made my post, I was very sappy. It was very embarrassing, and it was very awful for me to have to film and have to watch. But I was at I don't like saying rock bottom because I still believe that there's many ways that I could figure out things without hitting complete rock bottom, but I was at the lowest point I'd ever been in. I just don't like saying rock bottom, I guess, whatever. It's just a me thing. But I had made my post and I had shared screenshots of, the rent or the mortgage that was due and stuff. I took screenshots so everybody knew that I was legit and the dates that it was coming up. So that way I wasn't another freaking scam on Twitter and stuff. And I hated it. It was awful. I didn't like dealing with it. And ended up posting it. I needed like it was like a little over $700 of everything that I needed or whatever. And within, long story short, within that time frame, within just the next couple of days, I got like a little over like $1,000.
Mhm.
I got $900. And I'll kind of go into this here in like a second, but I ended up
Right.
spending $10 on a scratch off, and I know that sounds super dumb, and I ended
Uh-huh.
up winning $100 off of that scratch off, and then I
Well,
put
there
it
you
like
go.
towards my truck and towards more bills, and it was a whole scenario, and it was just something that's super difficult to just kind of rethink about everything. But in general, specifically him, I had other friends help me. I think I collected like 300 something dollars from other friends and stuff that had been around a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever. And it was amazing just being able to have that support and community. And this had happened back in, well, I guess right before that happened. So like close to a year ago. I can't remember the date specifically, but it was definitely over a year ago.
Mhm.
And so Monument, when we had, and I know that we don't like speaking names, but the name applies to my story. So
Yeah,
it's
no worries.
like, it's whatever. I know some people may get their feelings hurt. Is what it is. It's my story. But Monument affected me really hard because we talked, did the podcast, everything was great. We talked a lot throughout, yada yada. And then it eventually came to my post. I didn't tell anybody that I was making my post with. I wasn't really close with hardly anybody except for a dude named Leif that I absolutely love, and he's like a brother to me online. Leif eats
Mhm.
lemons. But they're online, like on the online world, I didn't really have like close friends, so nobody really knew the stuff that was going on really aside from him.
Mhm.
And so when I ended up making my post, he was one of the first ones to reach out to me, said, "Hey, what can I do?" Yada yada. And we just talked, like no money, no nothing, just talk, telling him about my situation, him telling me or whatever. And it was the following night when I made that post, and it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, or no, I'm sorry, 11 o'clock at night. And he'd sent me $300, and he said, "Hey man, here you
Wow.
go, just to help." And I was like, "Oh my god, like thank you, like that gets me closer. Like I have a little bit of leniency now. Like even if that was the most that I got, of course I'm still grateful for it. Even though my house would have started foreclosure, I still would have, because there's like 3 months of like when it all goes down, really. And so I would have a little bit of backup money to not have to owe so much going through this process, to where I could still kind of come back from it a little bit." And then, like from 11 o'clock at night, he sent me the $300. I cried a little bit, whatever, talked to my
Mhm.
fiance. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, he sent me another $300 and pretty much made up my mortgage, because my mortgage was 650 and it was 600. And
Mhm.
so he had sent me $600 in total and said, "Hey man, don't expect anything back. Just want to help you. I love you so much. Thank you for all the conversations that we had. I really appreciate you. And I'm glad that God had put you in my life." And that
Right.
changed a lot. That changed me a lot, because even though he wasn't necessarily the main factor of everything, but he was one of the biggest parts of all of the
Right.
people that had donated to me. And that changed a lot. I was able to pay my mortgage and do all that, and bills paid, and things were looking better.
Right.
And then with all of that stuff coming out about him, it really, it, I don't really know like how, I don't know like how to say this. Like it was the first time I've ever really struggled with like my mental health, or like whatever you want to call it. Because I was genuinely sitting here, and I love this guy to death. I knew his backstory. I knew everything that he was going through and stuff. And I was like, okay, he's a changed man. Like he's learning. Everybody goes through their certain stages or whatever. And he was still kind of young at the time. I think he was like 22, 23. I can't remember.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was just, he was just someone that I was super appreciative, super proud of, and just someone that I wanted to keep around for a long time, because someone going out of their way like that for me, it just meant the world.
That's not something you just do for anyone,
Right,
like
exactly. And so it changed me a lot. And so then when all of that stuff came out about him or whatever, I didn't talk to anyone for like a week or two. I barely talked to my family. I just kind of, like some, not really exactly what you did, but just go to work, grind away, do whatever, do my hours, come home, go to bed, whatever. Had a lot of nights that I was kind of like crying and just being super depressed, and just thinking about things of like, why would this person be in my life and do so much for me and really change my atmosphere and my environment? And now he's being ripped away because of awful things that he done, and now I have to not associate with him, because not only is it not right what he did, but of course obviously I don't agree with what he did. Of course it is awful. And it was just something that really made me think about a lot. And obviously again, this is like over a year ago, so I've come to terms a lot with it now. And it's that I say the same thing a lot of times with people being like, oh, not everybody is in your life forever, and all these kind of things. And a lot of people look at me in that way of like, oh, like I'm kind of like a therapist, and I help people and stuff. But a lot of people don't know like my backstory. And I'm not really saying like I'm a depressing guy. I've had all this stuff, but it's like there's moments in my life that has happened that has allowed me to formulate that opinion to try to help other people. So now I don't really get that emotional talking about it, because I've already kind of went through that phase. But
Mhm.
I've come to, kind of the, I guess, adulting side of whatever you want to articulate that as, but just the mindset of understanding that he wasn't supposed to be in my life. And that's something that was very difficult for me to learn and try to get over with, because when I was telling myself that at the beginning, that made no sense, because he just changed my life by being a part of my life, and now he's out of my life. So that
Right.
whole situation is not really something that pretty much nobody really knows about, and something that affected me a lot. But that is actually one of the key reasons of why I do say that not everybody is supposed to be in your life. And it's because you deal with situations that you're not used to dealing with, and something that hits you like a train, and now you have to figure out what's the next course of action of what you're going to do. Because I could have left that podcast up, I could have still tried to support him, say, oh, he's going to get help, he's going to do this, do that, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's wrong. And no matter what you personally believe in, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And you can still support them if you want to. But in
Mhm.
this environment, you're digging your own grave, even if you try to do that, even if you want to.
Right.
And it's not really even something that I wanted to do. It's just it's trying to not forget about the past, but always keep it there to where you remember what he did for me. Even though
Mhm.
now, you know, a year later, I view him as a really bad person and someone that I would not like to be around. But before then, I would have offered him, you know, a room in my house, you know?
Right, it's like it's really hard just to transition from someone who quite literally saved your life to now them basically ruining, not
Right.
ruining your life, but in a sense, putting you down that dark hole. It's like they just did the exact opposite of what they were doing in the first place. And so it's like I not that I fully understand where you're coming from, but like I've had similar experiences. It's like it's really, really fucking hard to, you know, come to terms with that is a bad person. I cannot be friends with them after all they've done for you.
Hmm.
And like I can't imagine that you went through that. And I'm sorry that you went through that. And I'm glad that you're doing so much better. I mean, you just look healthier. And I'm so proud of you for going through that. But again, it's just like it's so hard to kind of explain, especially with this situation. It's hard
Hmm.
to explain because, everyone is viewing this person as a horrific person,
Right.
but for you, like that person meant almost, the world to you, you
Right.
know?
And
So,
I think a big thing about it too is it's kind of hard because I know, you know, definitely, again, not really naming names in that aspect, but I know there's a
mhm,
lot of people that view him way more as family, you know, than I did and stuff. And it's
right.
also that kind of like aspect of like, who am I to say that? And it's like it's hard because I don't have the history with him, but the short couple months that I had to really get to know him felt like years, you know, and it
Right.
was just as hard. And it's kind of like I know that there are people, like, you're not really supposed to judge, but I know that there's people out there that probably was in his life and involved and say, oh, you know, I knew him way more than you. And like that's fine. If you did, you did. But that's just
Mhm.
my experience. And that's the only way that I can know to handle it. Whether you feel like you would have handled it differently, or maybe you view him as absolutely toxic or whatever, like that's completely on you. And
Right.
I still believe that everybody can change at an aspect, but he is not someone that I would ever want to associate with again. And like I said, again, that's super hard to come to terms to, because especially in this environment, you say the wrong thing or the wrong response or the wrong opinion, everything blows up, and all of a sudden you support it and it's going down. It's like, obviously, of course not, I don't support it. I'm just trying to understand how to be a better person and figure out, you
You're
know,
learning from it.
like who's, you
Yeah.
know, if that situation happens to me again, I can't let that be like, you know, because that happens to people all the time, you know, whether it be
Mhm.
job, work, whatever. They just get out of a really stressful, crappy situation, financially, emotionally, relationship wise. Let's just say relationship wise, you know, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but, you know, you get into a relationship and then all that goes down. You get into another one, then it goes down again. Now you're doubling down. Now you're super, super
Right.
depressed. And it's like, it's trying to develop the mental mindset of not allowing you to double down and be like, oh, it's happened to me all again, and allow yourself to get more depressed. That's why staying strong is so hard, and that's why it's just kind of the obvious thing of, if you could do it, then it would, and then everybody would do it, and it would be easy, you
Right.
know. And if I could say that, you know, Maji didn't change my life and didn't help me, you know, I'd be lying, I'd be wrong. And do I want to
Right.
say those things? No, because I know that nobody likes to associate with him, and I don't like him anymore, and it sucks. But at the end of the day, I can't disagree saying he didn't help me, because he didn't.
Right, it's like you have to, as harsh as, the name or the conversation or the situation can be, it's your story and it's supposed to be told. It's you're not trying to make him look like a better person.
Hmm.
You're just trying to kind of explain to people how he impacted your life other than
Right.
with the situation, you know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
for me, I never even like spoke to him I think I've played with him, but, like, we weren't in a call or anything. We were just, like, playing on Search and Destroy or something. It's like, I didn't know him, I wasn't friends with him, so I don't really have much of an experience, but just from your story and from, like, from Tay and from other people, like, he's done good things, but, with what he's
Right.
done, it's not acceptable,
Right.
but, you know, things
Right.
happen.
Yeah, it's awful too, and I think that's kind of the important, I guess, lesson you would say about the situation is like no matter how much good that you do, if you truly do something damaging, all of the good that you do should not be an excuse of you,
Yes.
doing something really bad. If you've been a hero for 5 years and you're a villain for a month, that should not excuse you being a villain for a month because you've helped so many people. Like it's just wrong.
Well said.
And it's I don't know. There's there's not a better way that I could say
Oh,
any
yeah,
of that
that
stuff.
you said that great. That was good.
So, but anyways, but that was kind of the whole point. I kind of wanted to level you and level with you and share my own story about, things that have affected me that didn't make sense and could I have done something different, which I know I couldn't have, especially being like, online, like I've never like
Mhm.
physically met him or whatever. And my situation obviously was a lot more different than yours, but in general, it's still kind of the same rule of thumb of, this is what's happening. This is the information that you got. Depending on what you do next, not only can affect you as a person, but can affect you as your persona and your image, especially on social media when we're all trying to, grow up and,
Mhm.
and get big and really make it out there and really impact a bunch of lives, and we're
Right.
all worried about saying the wrong thing or offending someone. And that's just kind of the tough thing of figuring out what is the correct mental mindset to have to not only be strong within yourself, but allow that to be shared of you being strong with other people so they can think, oh, maybe I can be strong. Maybe I've been thinking about this the wrong way.
Mhm. Yeah, well said.
So, but is there anything else that you wanted to add on or anything at all?
Let's see. I mean, not much. I'd rather, like, as much as I love COD, it's not, like, with this whole
Right.
thing, it's, like, it's not something I wanna bring up, but I don't know, I think it's kind of just for me and for, I'm sure, almost literally everyone, this is our place to escape from
Yeah.
reality. We all come to game just to get away from our job situations, friend situations. When I'm depressed, I literally play COD. I will pull out an SMG and just shoot my fucking gun. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just like it's a way to let go and escape. But I feel like within this community, it can be really hard to because it's so fucking toxic. And it's like it sucks because, I don't know, with like people having egos and things like that, it's really hard because all I want to do is play with friends, have a good time, make content, stream, enjoy myself. But you have some people who come in and just ruin that for you. And it's like that sucks because this is my only way to escape.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know. You can't fix the COD community. Like it will forever be toxic. I've owned up to that. I know, but sometimes, man, I just wish like I could just be able to talk like I am with you with
Hmm.
anyone else in the
Yeah.
COD community. But I've realized like you really can't like trust people. You can't talk to anyone. It's like unless you do something good for them or like you make content for them, you're really not any use to them. And that
Yeah.
sucks. I don't like doing that. Like as much as I try to stay off social media, which is crazy as that sounds, me
Hmm.
being a content creator, I try and like be friends with everyone. I don't see myself having like an ego or anything. If you come into my stream, I always say what's up. I love seeing you in my stream. It's so fun because you're not in there every day. It's fine. But occasionally you'll pop in. It's like, oh my God, what's up, dude? It's been a minute. And it's
Yeah.
like that's my way to connect with you. You know what I mean? Especially being like online, that's really like the only way we can have those small conversations other than this, obviously. But
Yeah.
I just wish people could understand and love each other online. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
just you can't.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of like on that topic, it's the same exact thing of why I did this podcast in the first place, and now kind of why I've revamped it because that's kind of my whole thing. Just like I told you before, I love being able to have conversations like this with people, and I know that it is not at all customary for someone like me to go in depth and have a random conversation with someone he don't really, know, especially online. And
Mhm.
and I tell people all the time, I've had hundreds over the years, hundreds of times I've told people, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And there's very, very few people that will reach out and say, hey, I got this going on. And they don't expect my kind of response. They don't expect me to hear, hey, let's hop in a call and talk it out, whatever. Because like a lot of people aren't used to that. A lot of people aren't used to someone prioritizing them or whatever. And it's just the way that I view it is you have things going on in your life. Clearly, if someone else was going to help you, they would have already. So you reaching out to me tells me that no one is in your corner and someone needs to be.
Exactly.
And I know that it's really shitty that there's not people like that out there, but that's why I like doing this podcast. And maybe it can shed light on other good souls and good people that watch this or whatever to be that
Mhm.
for someone else. It don't always have to be feeds. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to help everybody's situations and stuff. That would
Right.
make me that'd make me whole. I'd like, that'd be dope just to help people all day long.
Right.
That's kind of my goal. Like, even as like a content creator, like I just want to help people. Like, I don't really want to hit cool shots, make crazy gaming videos, or be the most viewed video. Like, I just want to help someone. I just want them to know that I changed their life and allowed them to view it in a different way, or allowed them to vent something they've never been able to talk about before or whatever. And I know that it's difficult for a lot of people to have those conversations. So I mean, if someone's watching this and this allows you to be that for someone else, whether it be a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, I guess the whole pinpoint of this conversation is a learning lesson. And I mean, if I have to be a learning lesson for other people to be okay with opening up to other people, even though you may not know them, sometimes that's the best way to go. Because at the end of the day, if we are needing to open up and we are needing to talk about things, especially with someone like with me and you, it
Mhm.
needs to be, not only does it need to be unbiased, but you can't judge. And that's something that it's so stupid, but it's the one of the most difficult things in the world is to not be judged. Everybody's judged every single day,
Right.
especially women, on that topic. It's
Right.
awful and it's really shitty to see. And I wish things would change, but the reality is that it won't. And you have to be that person to help make the change because it's not going to be the world that you want it to be, but you can still be an important part of that world to help make it change, to make it better, even if not for you, for someone else.
Well said. And for anyone like, listening, I just want to say like if you feel like you can't talk to anyone, please reach out to both me or Feeds and we will gladly sit and like not we won't even talk to you. We'll just listen. You know what I mean? I feel like listening is so much more important than talking because you can tell someone your problems, but if they don't listen to you, it really doesn't do much. And me coming back on this podcast is fully my decision, and I chose to come back because I know Fees will genuinely sit here and listen to me talk, and that's why I'm bringing my personal issues into this podcast because I don't really get to talk to anyone about this, especially online. Like you were saying, most people don't feel comfortable talking about it,
Yeah.
but you make me feel comfortable about it, and I'm comfortable enough to share it with whoever is going to watch this podcast. And even with you and your problems, with whatever you had mentioned in this
Hmm.
podcast, if you hadn't told anyone else, now they know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I encourage you, if you have any personal issues, even if your girlfriend broke up with you and she burnt your clothes, like if that really affected you and you need to talk to someone, please just talk to us. Or if you even want to do a podcast episode or something, please message Feeds. He will,
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll gladly listen to you.
Yeah, definitely. And again, obviously, I appreciate all the kind of words. It truly does mean a lot. And it's kind of one of the main reasons why, like, not it's kind of hard, not like not in a favoritism way, but again, I do have to think about all the episodes that I've had of the most, the ones that I've enjoyed the most, and not necessarily like ranking it, but just like what touched me like
Right.
personally. And
Mhm.
you was definitely like one of the top five, of the
Appreciate
conversation that
it.
me and you had, and just learning a lot about you and your story and your battles and struggles that you face that kind of not like pretend, but like make sure that other people don't see what's going on in the background, which I know we all technically do in our own ways. But that's why, you was definitely one of the few people that I reached out to kind of have back again, because I
Mhm.
felt like now kind of having that, space or whatever was being able to open up. And for anybody that does want to be on my podcast and wants to have this conversation, but wants to have a conversation before the conversation, like, it is what it is. Like, if that's what
Right.
you need to do to talk about how you are, I understand how difficult it is for someone to tell you, hey, I'm not judging you, and hey, I'm unbiased of what's going on. And just like when Cinema was talking about his whole issue at work and everything, that's why I said, okay, after he went on the very first time of explaining everything, I said, okay, let me break this down. This. And that is what is listening is. And
Mhm.
it's not a lot of people is going to do that. And it's not me saying like, oh, good guy feeds, like he's doing great. It's just saying like, if you don't do those things, not only are you not kind of listening, but you're making the person that's explaining these issues that's been building up inside, you're making them feel unwelcomed. And
Mhm.
really, you being someone to reach out to is now completely pointless, and it's just a brick wall. And they're going to leave that
Exactly.
conversation probably more pissed than what they were before they joined the conversation.
Exactly.
So I think that that's a very pivotal point for people to realize if they're wanting to have those kind of conversations and hold that kind of weight of other people to try to help them, is you have to understand those things first. Is if someone else is going through things, your feelings do not matter in that situation, because right now it's them that has that issue. And until you deal with that first, you can't begin to say, well, this is what I would do, well, this is what I think, or whatever, and just hash them and say you shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that, or whatever. That's the complete wrong way to go, and you're just going to lose a friend.
Mhm. Exactly. Sorry, I'm
Well,
not giving much response. It's
no,
like
you're
you're
good.
literally saying everything that I would have said, so
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, and that's good. It's good to be on the same page a lot of times, and just like I've said, with you, you have a very kind, very genuine heart, and you're just an awesome dude.
thank
Just
you.
like the last podcast that we talked, a year later, still connecting and still just kind of roughly around each other's streams and content and stuff. Just being able to be around you and just watch you evolve and you watch me evolve, it's just truly just a humbling thing. And
Mhm.
that's one of the main reasons I like the podcast, because almost all of the people that I've had on the podcast, I still check up on and
Mhm.
still talk to this day. And it's cool being even just going back and watching them just because I'm bored and seeing like, oh, that was how they were before. And now they've matured so much, or now they're going through crap and now they're actually being an adult, whatever it may
Right.
be. And it's like those experiences show you what changing really means.
Yeah, exactly, and I feel, oh, fuck, what was I gonna say? Damn, I totally lost my train of thought.
You're all good.
Um, Fuck, yeah, never
Yeah,
mind, I
no,
guess.
you're all
I
good. No, it's
completely
good.
just, like, lost
That's
everything.
fine. That's fine. But yeah, I just think that's really what change is all about, is just being able to understand the differences you had a couple years ago versus now. And that's all we can really do is just grow as people and just learn and try to be better than what we were a year from ago. I mean, if you're in the same exact situation you were versus a year ago, and it's kind of hard because like I'm still not judging, but just my opinion on that is that if you're in the same place you were a year ago, you're obviously not confronting the things that you need to be confronting, because at the end of the day, your goal should always be to be happy. And if you're not
Right,
happy, you need to figure out how you're going to get there. No one's else going to do that for you.
right, 100%. I remember.
That's okay.
Um, I was gonna say, I feel like it's important to look at kind of me in feeds for an example, because we don't talk on a day-to-day basis. As much as I would like us to,
Hmm.
or, it's like, you got your life, I have my life, things happen. However, we're still able to come back, take a second, step back, and just talk.
Yeah.
Let everything out. And it's very refreshing too, because I don't feel like I need to talk to you every day in order to have this conversation. A lot of people that I've met in my life feel the need that they need to talk to me every single day in order to be my friend. And realistically, it doesn't need to be like that. Like, if you don't talk to me on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't mean we're not friends. You can always come and talk to me no matter what,
Yeah.
unless you did something crazy, but
Right, right. No, definitely. And I think me and you, again, like you said, is a perfect example, which obviously nobody can see, but just for me and you, because obviously we know our Discord conversation that we have. The last message we sent was the
Yeah,
podcast a year ago. So it's like
exactly.
that, that's where it lies, man. Like, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And, once I think that's kind of the biggest thing is it's not really focusing on who's going to be in your corner or who's going to stick around and who's not as far as figuring out your friends. It's just learning the ones that are still there that you expected to leave or just slowly drift away that
Mhm.
are still there. That should be like, okay, I didn't think Feeds was going to be around, but now he is. And that's kind of the same way that I view, with cinema. Me and cinema first talked, great conversation, really loved it or whatever, but we could have parted our own ways. We could have done whatever, different content, whatever, but somehow, some way, a year later, me and him are still connected and we're still good. And that's the important thing is not to get caught up in how you guys stay together, but understand the importance of a year ago, we talked and had a great conversation. A year later, we talked again and we're having an even better conversation. Those are
Exactly.
obviously two big green flags that should tell you that those are people that you want to have in your corner.
Exactly. Yeah, I will always settle down for a long-term friend who I don't talk to on a day-to-day basis over someone who I talk to every single day and then they end up, leaving or,
Yeah.
whatever it is, parting ways. I will always settle down for long-term friends.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cinema, I definitely appreciate all the conversation that we had. Before we end off here, is there any last words you want to say to anybody watching?
Once again, if you ever feel like you need to talk to someone or just reach out or just, if you want to check up on us, like by all means, please message me, feeds, or reach out to one of your close friends, someone you trust. Please, because mental health is one of the most important things. I can't stress that enough. You need to take care of yourself before anything else. So please check up on your friends, check up on yourself. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. Nope, couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, thank you again so much for coming on the podcast. Again, it means a lot. Thank you so much for being as vulnerable as you have, being able to share that story with you and stuff. I know that's not all easy stuff to talk about, and it definitely makes me feel very humbled to be able to share that with you and for you to be able to kind of talk about all those things with me. It just means the world to me, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you so much.
Of course, thank you.
Alrighty, well, to everybody watching, thanks for checking. As always, cinema stuff is below his head in the description. You can go check him out on all his socials and stuff. He usually goes live quite a bit throughout the week and stuff. Probably going to be playing a lot of Black Ops 6. I'm assuming that's kind of where you're going to be at.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching cinema. Again, I appreciate you so much.
Of
Everybody
course.
watching, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.